have to get out of that box and get out of that mindset and mind frame, because we can get easily swallowed up in feeling sorry for ourselves, ladies, okay? Good morning, ladies. I know I always come on here and say, I haven't filmed in such a long time. I'm going to do better. It's just life. It's like crazy. But I just wanted to come on and make a short video that might have a little bit of rambling because it's the morning and I'm trying to get ready. And inevitably, there's a little bit of rambling going on. But yes, ladies, I'm getting ready for work. And it's looking kind of rough. It's looking kind of rough. But believe it or not, we have the ability to put ourselves back together after a rough night of sleeping. But the reason why I wanted to come on and just make a video is because I was just thinking during the Christmas season, Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever it is, I actually don't mean to make a joke like that. That's kind of bad. But during the holiday season, it can be really tough when you're single, or you're in a situation where perhaps you're married and you feel alone, or your husband's traveling, or you're stuck with the kids. There is sickness involved. Who knows? As I got older, I began to realize that people feel alone in all different kinds of situations. And for myself, I've been single for a really long time, as I've shared. And that's by choice in some ways, and in other ways, it's also has been God's plan for my life. Sorry, I got to put this lotion on. I saw a joke the other day where it was this black lady putting on lotion on her kid's face, and she was like, her whole hand like just basically covered his entire face, and she's just like, and I started laughing, and I'm like, that's so relatable because that's how I put on lotion. My whole hand's like, you know. Well, and when I was younger, I don't know, did you guys have a mom that used to put on straight up Vaseline on your face, and it would just be like, you were like shiny when it was all done? I heard this thing that Vaseline's making a comeback, but I never used to put on lotion on my face because I've had very oily skin my entire life until I got into menopause. And then the skin just changes. Like, I went into menopause early. You guys have known the story, blah, blah, watch the other videos. But I went into menopause early, and it's just been like life altering. And not only that, I don't know how people get through it, because the struggle's real, ladies. So anyways, I use this moisturizer by Clinique. It's not sponsored. If y'all want to sponsor me, I've been using this for a long time. Super pricey, okay? So if y'all want to send me a free bottle, no, I'm just joking. But anyways, back to the story. Like I said, I'm kind of rambling off a little bit. I was just thinking, for some people, the holiday season can be a very lonely time, because in some regards, for a lot of people, you're looking at someone else's life and all the things they're posting online, and the 9-foot Christmas tree that's white, that's covered in all of the. And you look at yours and you're like, dag, like, I can't even afford a tree. Or, why should I put up a tree and I'm just going to be alone looking at it, type thing. And, I just want to encourage you that even though you feel alone and you might really, who knows, maybe you are alone, and that you're not. I know that sounds really cliche, but there's truth in it. Okay. I'm going to turn the water on for a second, guys. I'll be back. All right. Nothing like the running water on a video. But I began to realize that you really have to take the focus off of you, which can be very difficult if your situation is very difficult, because it's almost like human nature. All we want to do is just focus in on our problems and what we have going on. But, I've been saved for 20, gosh, a long time. And what I've learned is that, you know, God doesn't just come and take away all of our problems. Unfortunately, we live in a world that is a byproduct of sin. And it hits and impacts our lives in so many different ways. But the Bible talks about that God is with us even to the ends of the earth. And he wants to walk this life with us, that even through the tragedies and the things that happen in our lives, God wants to walk that life with you. And during this holiday season, it's a tough time for a lot of people, as I mentioned. And what do you do? So what is the answer? How do you navigate this season? And I'm an expert, okay? Because I spent many Christmases as a single person, still holding that down, you know. And I can tell you that when I talk about taking the focus off of yourself, that there's truth. First and foremost, you need to prioritize God in your life. And sometimes we get so far away from that because we're just so focused on our family, work, trying to get the bills paid, trying to look for a job, maybe, how to navigate, sickness, our health. And I've gone through all of that. I've gone through Christmases with zero in the bank account. I've gone through many Christmases with no job. I've gone through Christmases dealing with cancer, dealing with recovery from surgery, dealing with, not having money to buy a gift for the kids. I've gone through all of that. And I can tell you, you must turn your focus from that to Jesus. You must. And that starts by prioritizing your life. How do you do that? Having a prayer life. Before your head hits that pillow at night, you talk to God. When you wake up in the morning, and it's a struggle, guys, before we pick up our phone, we talk to God. We read a devotional. We let God know what's going on. How does God impact our lives? It's us inviting him into our lives and prioritize it. And sometimes that can seem kind of counterintuitive because you have so much to address and so much to do. And we think that once our eyes open and we just get to it, we can plow through it. And, maybe later on we can read the Bible or, have a spot in our car where we're praying or whatever. And it just gets further and further away from you. You have to prioritize your prayer life and reading your word. Second, it's finding ways to invest in other people. There are other people out there that are dealing with situations sometimes far worse than ours. For some of us, or for some of you guys out there, just being single is the problem. But for others, it's single with kids, it's single with sickness. It's, like I said, a whole lot of things. And sometimes people just appreciate, even in your situation, that you turn and help someone else. And you might say, well, I need help. But God has always given of himself. And he's always taught us to give of ourselves. God has called us a lot of times to give of ourselves when we're at the lowest. Why? Because it does something inside of our nature. And it also builds faith. Because you know what? God can turn your situation around. You don't know how things are going to work out. And sometimes that investment in other people, it will cause you to reap, rewards for yourself. You begin to realize that there's a whole big world out there with so many things other than just what we're dealing with. And we could impact someone's life in a positive way. The third thing is that, especially moms, like, you've got to take that pressure off of, oh, I got to get all these gifts. Excuse me. Oh, I got to do this. Oh, my kids don't have this. You know what? Like I said, I've had a lot of Christmases where we just didn't have much. And I begin to teach my kids from early on that Christmas is just not about gift giving. It's more than that. It is the reason why we're celebrated. Now, whether or not Jesus was born on the 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, the 1st, you know what? He was born at some point. It's identified to be around this time. The exact date, honestly, there's some people that don't know the exact date they were born. I'm going to be real. But it's a day that it we pick to celebrate. So, all the schematics of that's not the right exact, you know what, who cares? It's a day to just celebrate the fact that Jesus was born, that he was the light and the hope of the world. And if it's something that's acknowledged, so I'm going to take it, And so I begin to teach my kids from early on. Okay, guys, I'm going to just pause here because all the critics, why are you putting on your eyebrows that way? You know what? I'm not a makeup artist. I'm doing the best I can. Okay. And this is how the eyebrows is going to work today. I digress. But anyways, you really have to teach your kids early on that the focus and the point of Christmas is celebrating Jesus's birth, and also that investment in others. We see that with the wise men. They invested in Jesus early on. They brought him gifts. They traveled a long ways to meet the king. And in our own lives, that's the thing that I try to teach my kids, is that awareness of what Jesus did and what his birth signifies. And sometimes if it's a year that we don't have much, we turn that focus to other things that we can do, spending time as a family. One year we all baked cookies and gave some away and kept some for ourselves, and brought it into work, school, that sort of thing. We spent time together doing things together, and children will understand if you explain. If you do not have money to go and do all of this thing, do not do it. Do not go into debt to buy all this stuff. Okay. One Christmas in particular, after I had surgery, I was out of work. There was no income coming in, nothing. And I told the kids, you know what? This year looks a little different. Mom does not have a job. I doesn't mean I don't love you, but sometimes this is life, and kids need to see the reality of life. It can't always be you're going into debt to do all of this stuff. That's not practical, and that does not portray a good message. And what do you know what happened that Christmas? Do you know what happened that Christmas? Out of the blue, someone gave me a card, and the card had almost $1,000 in it. And I was able to cover some bills and get a couple things for the kids and Christmas dinner. And you never know. That's why I say you never know how things are going to work. Okay. Sometimes we just have that tunnel vision and this is what it is. And I just, having faith is believing God for the impossible. And you know what? If they don't get gifts, they're not going to die. They're going to be okay. Okay. I talked about in another video about how I got out of debt, and that's some of the choices that you have to make, single mom, that, you know what, we're not going to go into debt. Okay. And so, the, one second, ladies, one second. I know it's rough and slow going this morning, especially with these eyelashes and things like that. But this is just the reality. I try to keep it real on my channel that I post every so often. I just try to keep it real, okay? Because the Instagram people that come on or whoever, and they look like Miss Universe, that's not the rest of us. Like, we wake up and we're rough looking and we gotta, try to make it work. So, anyways, that's what I was thinking about. And, I think that depending on where you are in your life, you're like, oh, there's another layer under there. Yeah. You gotta tie this down. When you have hair like this, you gotta like do all the manipulation and all the things you gotta do. And your best friend, I'm digressing again. One of my best friends is where's my colorer? This is the best thing that they've made. Hold on, where is it? Some people use like one of these things to just kind of get all the grays. Yes, I'm gray. I'm almost 50, but this is okay too. This is like gray away. For those that are young, you don't got to deal with this, and you're like, oh, why don't you just color your hair? I do. And you got to be careful because there's a lot of chemicals, and after dealing with cancer, and I know that God has healed me, but he also calls us to be wise and to be smart. So I really try to watch all the, chemicals and things I put into my body, try to be more healthier. I do need to like work out and stuff like that more. I think when you're like busy and running around, it gets harder to do things like that. But, at least even just walking. So I don't color my hair like I used to. I try to like be more natural about it. This isn't a hair channel, but I'm just giving an explanation. Um, so, anyways, we talked about coming back. Got to bring it all back. uh, we talked about understanding the reason for the season, for the holidays. We talked about focusing on God, that prioritizing God, your prayer life, reading the Bible. We talked about looking towards others. We talked about single moms not going into debt. If you can't do it, you can't do it, And lastly, sometimes you gotta step outside your box. I can be a real homebody. Like, I can tell you, like, there are times where I don't got a problem being home. I don't have a problem just doing nothing. But sometimes that's not conducive. It's not conducive to your mental health. It's not conducive to, you know, it's not conducive to your life. How about getting out and doing something that maybe you wouldn't think of doing? Getting in your car, driving around, seeing the Christmas lights. A lot of the parks and zoos and things have lights out, all the Christmas lights out, going around, walking maybe in City Hall if you live in a place that have something like that, or the downtown, going and get a cup of hot chocolate. And you're like, how can I do all these things alone by myself? Grab a friend. If you don't want to grab your friend, it's okay to do something alone that's outside of the box. It's okay. But I would suggest, hey, call a friend up. Would you like to, Maybe they don't want to either, but you know what? You got to get out of your box. You have to expand. If you just sit and think about how bad life is and, oh my God, I'm just so alone. Not good. So you have to get out of that box and get out of that mindset and mind frame, because we can get easily swallowed up in feeling sorry for ourselves, ladies, okay? Feeling sorry for our situation. And a lot of times we just live in the future. If I had this, or I can't wait till I have that, and then I will do XYZ. And you know what? You could be waiting years. I never thought I would be almost 50 and still be a single person. I have been single for 20 plus years. I never thought that that would be my life, nor did I ever think I would ever come to a place of contentment. Nor did I ever think that I would come to a place where I'm totally just dependent on God. It doesn't mean that I don't have wants. It doesn't mean that I don't have desires, but I have to surrender it to Jesus, because He's given me promises, and perhaps He's given you promises. And God's word says He's not a man that He's going to lie. His promises are yea and amen. So that means they're going to happen. When? His time. And if that's not God's plan for your life, you got to be okay, because God knows the bigger picture. I've explained in videos that sometimes there's a whole behind the scenes that you don't know. You just want this, but there's a this. And sometimes we make hasty decisions and they can be very costly. So that's it. Enough rambling. I got to spend the other few minutes I really got to take these out. Like, that's the bottom line. I've always had this thing where I'm like, I don't want to let myself go, but sometimes it's like the work. If y'all want to see a video on how to take all of this out and what to do after when it comes out, because my hair is like this, I haven't, put chemicals in my hair or anything like that for a long time. So there's a lot of length, and it's just like lion, just lion vibes. And so yeah, that's it. I just wanted to do a video to encourage as I ramble on. I wanted to do a video to just encourage you ladies out there. And the bottom line is, you need to let Jesus be your single hope. Have a good one.